Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this What's Next session, where we developer advocates dive deep into the latest launches from AWS reInvent with the members of our service team. My name is Rohini Gaonkar, and here we have guest speaker Ning to talk about AWS Audit Manager. Ning, it would be great if you can introduce yourself to the viewers.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Ning. I'm from the AWS Enterprise Tool team under the AWS Services Organization. And I'm really glad to have the opportunity to talk to everyone and give you a little bit of excitement on Audit Manager.
Thanks, Ning. But before we start, just wanted to announce to our viewers today to message the AWS on air on Twitter with questions, and we will get answers to them for you. And Ning, AWS Audit Manager has caused a lot of interest post its announcement in the leadership session last week in the AWS security session by Steve Smith. And I'm quite excited to actually dive deeper into the service. So, do you want to talk a minute about what is Audit Manager?
Yes, I think it's good to give our audience a quick definition, what is Audit Manager. So in one or two sentences, AWS Audit Manager essentially helps you continuously audit your AWS usage to simplify how you assess risks and compliance with regulations and industry standards. So that's a very high level, definition of Audit Manager.
Wow. Okay. So before we actually go deeper into Audit Manager itself, can we talk a bit of the challenges our customers are facing with audits and with compliances itself? Can we talk a bit more on what are these challenges that we see our customers are facing?
Yes, of course. As we always work back from customers, we are happy to share, what are the key challenges we are solving using Audit Manager. So today, what we learn from customers is that audits involve periodic and manual assessments of your policies, procedures, and activities, both from your system perspective and also from your, people organization perspective. So in the context of AWS, if you have a workload running there, so the complicated, compliance and the regulatory landscape can make it very difficult to translate the audit requirements to your, usage of AWS in practice. And during audit, what customers typically have to do is they have to engage a broad range of different, internal teams, both from IT and business side, to really spend a lot of time gathering sufficient evidence so they can prove and demonstrate, with those evidence, I'm compliant with these requirements from the audit sides. And this is a pretty time-consuming, efforts. And sometimes it stops people from, working on their like a business as usual kind of a business requirements. They have to stop their task to do this. So Audit Manager is designed to overcome these challenges, so you can save time and really focus on things to improve your risk and compliance posture and drive your business better.
Yeah, definitely. Like when I was an AWS SA, and uh, typically if my customers are going through some kind of compliance, and it was so difficult to get hold of anyone from the team because everyone was just spending a lot of time building these reports and trying to find the evidence for these reports. So
Yeah.
definitely, it takes a whole team, actually the whole company, to come together and work towards it, right? Now
Yeah.
that we have assigned these challenges, right? I'm quite excited to know, like, how is Audit Manager going to help with these challenges? So, like, can we pointed a bit more about how it is going to help with these challenges and what is it actually helping our customers with?
Yeah, sure. So actually, to help customers, what Audit Manager does is, first of all, it offers the pre-built framework that help our customers to map their AWS usage to the requirements of an industry standard or a particular regulation. For example, we have a frameworks like for CS Foundation benchmark, for GDPR, which is very popular in the European region, and also for the PCI DSS, which is payment related standard. So with that, what as a customer you can do is you can select a pre-built framework and launch assessment for that framework straight away. And then Audit Manager will continuously collect the evidence from your AWS accounts and attach the evidence to the related requirements in that framework. So as a result of that, you save a lot of time to figuring out what data and where to collect from that. you can just start by reviewing the data we collected. And also we learned that customers, especially the large ones, they always have an internal, like a unique requirements. We also allow you to customize a framework in Audit Manager so you can meet your unique business requirements. And with Audit Manager, you essentially are able to assess your compliance posture on a regular basis because we gather the data continuously. So you get a better, position to reduce your risk, be continually prepared whenever audit requirements drop in, and save time and efforts.
And who are these companies, or what kind of personas can use Audit Manager or should use Audit Manager?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we definitely have a target, users and audience who use this service, right? So AWS Audit Manager targets primarily the users who lead the audit preparation for the entire organization. So I use that as a generic description because we learned that the roles and the names of the roles can vary from customer to customer. So I can give you some example roles in customers who use, AWS Audit Manager. There can be, internal audit teams to use this. There can also be internal, what we call GRC teams that represent the governance, risk, and the compliance teams. They can also be potential user for Audit Manager.
Okay. And it's quite interesting, right? Like security is our number one priority, right?
Yes.
Like for AWS itself, it's our number one top priority to have a secure environment for our customers. And for that, we have so many products in the AWS environment for security, right? So how is Audit Manager different, or how does it complement these AWS services? Can we understand the difference here?
Yes, that's a very good question. And actually, we just saw some interesting discussion in Twitter where someone also posted like the relationship between us and other security services. So I will take my point of view is that I would like to explain this using the classic 3 lines of defense risk management model, which is broadly adopted by many customers. I will use that to explain where we stand. So in these 3 lines of defense risk management model, the user's responsibility in a customer organization are categorized into 3 groups. So the first line of defense are functions that manage risks for the entire organization. So in this line, we have AWS services such as CloudTrail, Config, and License Manager that help customers to implement operational controls of their cloud resources. That's where these services are. And then there's a second line of defense. Those are functions that oversee risks, for the entire organization. We have AWS services such as AWS Security Hub and Amazon CloudWatch that help customers to gain a comprehensive view of their operational health and security posture across their AWS accounts. That's the second line of defense. And then the third line of defense are the functions that provide independent assurance of risk management. And that's where AWS Audit Manager really sits. So Audit Manager help you as a customer to assess your overall risk and compliance based on various frameworks. So that's how we are related, but also differentiated from other AWS services in this larger security, identity, and compliance family.
Nice. So if I understand correctly, there is management of risk, there is the overseeing of the risk itself, and the third line of defense is where Audit Manager sits. It's the assurance, the independent assurance of that risk management that we have been doing, right? So the third line of defense is where Audit Manager sits.
Yes.
Nice. And so how is this, like we talked about the challenges, right? Like how customers spend so much time and there's a lot of work that goes behind doing it, right? So is Audit Manager going to make our customers' life easier? Like what is it going to do for them?
Yes, of course. I would say there are several key benefits that Audit Manager delivers to the customer. So first of all, it easily maps your AWS usage to compliance requirements. So you save the efforts of guessing and interpreting what does it mean for this audit requirement on AWS. And the second benefit is it really saves time with automated evidence collection. And this is actually based on our understanding from customer. This is actually one of the most heavy piece of manual work they have to undertake in preparing an audit. Thirdly, Audit Manager help you streamline collaboration across teams in audit preparation. because we allow you to review all the evidence related to a particular framework in a central place. Now we also provide you a review collaboration workflow in Audit Manager. And fourthly, Audit Manager being is able to gather the data continuously, so it allows you to be continually prepared to address audit requirements. So you won't get kind of like a ad hoc audit requirements drop in, then you are in a panic to search the data everywhere. Last but not least, Audit Manager is built with the mind of ensuring evidence data integrity, because we learned that's a typical requirement from auditor. So we ensure the data won't be tampered from the time it is created all the way to the time it is delivered as a report to the hand of customer. So we use some service managed storage with encryption. We also provide integrity check for the reports we generated.
That is a lot of work, right? Like, first of all, mapping the entire thing, and then collection of the evidence itself, and definitely creating these audit ready reports, but even ensuring the integrity, right? Like, I remember a lot of customers do have this as well, like,
Yeah.
how true is this evidence, right? And then is this being tampered with? And that is a lot of concern for a lot of teams, and if audit manager is able to give that, I think a lot of customers are going to be happy about it.
Yes.
Awesome. So, okay, so quite, see, audit manager is also a new service in itself, right? So, I do want to spend some time understanding the concepts of how audit manager was built with, because then it will help a lot of people interact with the service itself. So maybe you want to just give us a quick understanding about these different concepts when we are dealing with audit manager.
Sure. So yeah, I think audit is a specialized area. There are some good concepts to explain upfront to help the audience here to understand. So the first concept I would like to talk about is the framework. So which is essentially either an industry standard or a regulation, such as I mentioned, like a PCI DSS, GDPR, and the CS Foundation benchmark. So that's naturally the first thing comes to a user's mind. Like you prepare an audit for a target framework like that. And then inside of framework, you essentially normally get a list of requirements, right? So we call them controls of the framework. So each control is essentially defining, hey, what are the things you need to implement? What are procedures you need to implement in order to conform to a given rule defined in that control? And then that's how frameworks and the controls are defined. And then in put this into action, right? When you do the audit preparation, you are essentially assessing a framework, whether or how compliant you are with that framework. We call that as assessment. So you will launch assessment for a framework. And then in this process, in assessing the framework, in running assessment for a framework, you need to gather pieces or a lot of data to prove, each control in the framework is really in compliant status. So to do that, you need to gather what we call evidence. It's a chunk of data, a record that really contains the information that proves this control is in compliance. So that's framework, controls, assessment, evidence. These are the four key concepts I would like to introduce.
Awesome. And while we're talking about that, let's talk a bit more high level. I know we have a demo by you towards the end, and we do want to keep some time for the demo. Just give us maybe a quick understanding of how to use Audit Manager when you've now defined these concepts.
Yeah, sure. So to use Audit Manager, you can really quickly get started by selecting a pre-built framework that we offer and a launch assessment in Audit Manager. The pre-built framework, I already give some examples, like we have a CS Foundation benchmark, we have a PCI DSS, we have a GDPR etc. You can select any one. There are more than 10 of them, so you can select that. So once you select that, Audit Manager can, based on your launch of the framework, can run the assessments and automatically collect related evidence right away. The framework is defined based on our best practices, and it contains the data source that Audit Manager knows, where to collect the relevant data for each control, and it will be run continuously. So that's the first step. Like you get the things up and running, and the data is being collected. And then as the user, your real action is really, upon point of time or whenever you need, you can go into Audit Manager to review those running assessments and review the evidence under, collected under each control. So in addition to read the evidence, you can add comments. You can upload your manual documents as the manual evidence, because we understand sometimes certain control requires like a procedural, control type of data to prove, hey, this is how your, people organization is created. This is how your, operational workflow. You can totally upload those too. And then last but not least, in this review, you can also delegate a domain expert, say, hey, I thought maybe Rohini is a better person than Ning to review this control. I will delegate Rohini to review it. And at the end of the day, you can generate an assessment report for the running assessments. You can select the subset of sufficient but appropriate evidence for each control to include in the report, and you produce that in your own folder that you can download as a PDF summary file, and as well as the evidence files, and you can show it offline to your either internal teams or external teams. But last but not least, I want to just call out, we also allow you to customize your own, create your own framework. Like if you don't want to use our standard pre-built framework, you can do that, so you can meet your unique in-house requirements.
Lovely. So customization is as possible as well. That sounds interesting. Yeah. And most obvious question, I think most of us would have is, how much is it going to cost us to use Audit Manager?
Yes. So the Audit Manager charges customer essentially based on usage. So our price is $1.25 for 1,000 resource assessments per account per region. And we also have a free tier for the first-time customers. We offer 35,000 resource assessments per month for free for 2 months. Just a little bit clarification on the resource assessment. So when we run assessment over a framework in your AWS environments, we break it down into assessments run against each resource. So that is the process we run, and that is the process we essentially collect data, translate data, and create evidence and attach to the relevant controls. That's how we meter the usage of Audit Manager.
Thanks. I was going to ask you about the resource assessment, so thanks for clarifying that piece itself. So I think it's time for us to go and actually see Audit Manager and see it live. So I'm just going to head over to the demo. And
this is the home page of Audit Manager. You can click the Launch Audit Manager button to quickly start your assessment. And this is the page of the assessment. You can click the button, Create Assessment, to start building a new assessment. So let's say I specify the assessment name as New Assessment. I need an underscore here. And I put the same as the description. Here, you can specify the S3 bucket that you will use to eventually store the final reports you generated from this assessment. And then scrolling down, you will see the frameworks. That's where you select from either pre-built frameworks offered by Manager or those custom frameworks you created previously. In my case, you can see there are multiple of them. In my case, I'm going to showcase the PCI DSS framework. So I select this one and click Next. And here you can add AWS accounts to be in scope of this assessment of PCI DSS. So for the cases, if you use the organization, AWS organization, multiple accounts will be displayed. So you can really apply this assessment to multiple accounts. And also here you can specify what are the AWS services to be in scope for those selected accounts. Let's say I would just choose EC2, S3, config security hub to be in scope. And then here you can specify who are the audit owners. These are essentially the administrator who can manage every aspect of this assessment. I can just add a Bedrock user to be the audit owner and click Next. And in the last step, you just need to review the content you have input before and create an assessment. So normally, after assessment is created, it will start collecting evidence. but evidence won't be immediately available in your assessment. It depends. Some are user activities, whether there are some certain user activity happen, or sometimes it depends on the source, the data source frequency on the data feed into I would say on the data generation, and how audit manager when audit manager can collect from those data sources. So these are the assessments generated. As you can see, it's a new assessment, so evidence is not yet collected. So what I do is I will switch to a assessment that I previously created. So it contains more data to showcase how you can assess a PCI DSS framework. So while data is loading, you can see, yeah, the data is loaded. You can see at the top of the page, this is the summary header of the assessments. It tells you what are the total evidence collected by far. You can see there are 4,739. How many accounts are in scope, how many services are in scope, etc. And if you scroll further, you will see 7 tabs listed in the page. The first, and also is a very important tab, is the control tab. It contains 2 parts. One is the control status summary. It tells you how many controls are defined in this assessment, and what are the number breakdown based on the control status. There's a one under review, 664 under review. None of them is inactive. You can also see the control sets here. So control sets essentially are a grouping of multiple controls. For example, if I unfold this firewall configuration control set, you can see there are 60 controls inside, and each of them is a standard PCI DSS requirements. So we use sub bullet points like 1.1.1a. So that's why there are 600 plus controls in PCI DSS. Actually, before I further click to see the what is the content inside the control, I just want to quickly navigate through the other tabs that is related at the assessment level. So accounts, AWS accounts are the accounts in scope, and similarly, AWS services are the list of services in scope. Audit owners are the audit owner you selected when you create assessment. Tags are optional, but you can add your own tags. And change log is actually what are the key actions you take on this assessment. Let's go back to the controls tab. And then let's go to the firewall configuration. Let's look for, you can really see what are the total number of evidence collected for each control. So you can really look for a control that contains enough evidence so you can get a good sense of like what is the evidence look like. So let's go to this 1.2.1. You can see the control name and description here at the top of the page. Then in the middle of the page, you get a button to update the control status to be under review, reviewed, or inactive. It's just to indicate your progress with reviewing this control. And at the bottom, there are again 4 tabs. So the first tab is the evidence folder. This is one of the key piece of information you like to review when you prepare for audit for PCI. So it contains a number of evidence folders, which are organized by the date of the evidence collection. Because on any day, we can collect multiple evidences. As you can see, there's a total evidence count for each folder. And then you can also see the compliance check status. That is calling out whether there will be some failed compliance check, inside one of the evidence, one or multiple evidence in the folder. Let's say we go to December 4th evidence folder. So you will see a summary of the evidence, here. There are 40 evidence. And also you can see the whole table of the evidence collected for this date, December 4th. You can click on each evidence to see its details. But also here, you can also have a good view on, what are the passed check from Security Hub, but what are the failed one. You like to zoom into the failed one and click and see the evidence body and the details. So you can see in the attributes, this evidence is from this control. This failed check is from this Security Hub check PCI.EC2.2. You can also view further JSON information, JSON formatted information for remediation actions. So that's how the evidence are displayed here. And also there's a resource affected from this compliance check. So back to the evidence, let's back to the evidence folders view here. That's essentially how you review the evidence inside each folder. And then once you review that, you can select the folder and add this entire folder to assessment report. It means when you generate a final report from this assessment, all the evidence under this folder will be attached to the report. You can also do this for each individual evidence inside the folder. And also, you can also upload your manual evidence like a PDF or Word file, which essentially is used to demonstrate like your procedural controls that may include a human organization chart, for example. The next tab in the control page gives you what are the predefined, automated data source in this control. So you can see these are the bunch of data source definition here. And the comments tab is where you can really leave a comment, so someone else who revisit this control, they know what happened before. Like I already added 2 comments previously, you can see here. And the change log really showcase what are the key status change regarding this control that the user made, right? So once you have done all this, you can go back. You can finish this control, review this control, and go back to the assessment page. What you do is you can, review control set by yourself. But if needed, you can also select one control set and delegate to another user. This is the delegation page. You can select another user, let's say Bedrock user RO. You can let this person to review this whole control set on your behalf, and you can leave comments to this person, and you can create the delegation, to that person. While it's loading, I'm just quickly go to the delegation. Okay, it's completed. Yeah. So the person being delegated will get a notification, and then he or she will review the control sets. As you can see, this is delegated to this user. They can finish the review and send this back, and you will get a review the status here. So you know this is reviewed by that person. And after you complete all the review, what you can do is you can go to assessment report selection tab of the assessment, and you see these are the evidence folders you previously selected for the report inclusion. You can generate an assessment report by adding the report name and description here and generate that. So I will just go to a previously generated report tab so you can see how is the generated report look like. So it will be generated and listed here in the assessment report tab of the navigator. And then you can click on any one to download. So what you downloaded essentially is a report like this. It's a PDF file summarizing the assessment. And also it contains the list of controls in this assessment and the list of evidence that you selected for each control. And each evidence is again a PDF file that you can open. It's also a local PDF file that you downloaded in the same folder. You can see the whole evidence details there. So that completes a cycle of how you start, reviewing the whole framework and then generate evidence and then eventually produce a report that can be used by your internal and external team. Well, I don't have time to demonstrate, but I want to highlight there are also 2 other tabs in the Audit Manager. The framework library allow you to customize your framework by either using a standard framework we offered or creating your net new framework. And similarly, in the control library, you can create your new custom controls by either starting from scratch or copy and changing one of the standard controls we pre-built.
So that was an impressive demo of an impressive service. So I'm quite excited to see how our customers going to use it. I think we are almost about time. So I just wanted to ask you, Ning, what's next for our viewers? Like, what should they
Yeah,
do?
thanks for really glad to talk to the audience here. So I think the next step is really go to our website and to learn more about Audit Manager. We have a bunch of a very useful information there. and try to explore that. So really, I encourage you to explore. There are more interesting stuff there.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching this episode. And thank you, Ning. This was really
Thank you.
interesting.